Dr. Dorian James Everett, aged 40, held a position as a professor of behavioral psychology at Kennesaw State University since 2012. His academic qualifications included a PhD from Duke University, awarded in 2008, and a series of publications in well-known journals within the fields of behavioral sciences and psychological research. His wife, Layla Maria Everett, formerly Richardson, 37, owned and managed a thriving veterinary practice in downtown Atlanta, which she had operated since 2014. By 2016, the clinic had expanded to employ 6 veterinarians and had earned a reputation as one of the most respected animal care facilities in the region. As of 2016, Dr. Everett's academic duties required regular travel to attend conferences. Records from the university's Department of Psychology indicated that between January 2016 and March 2017, he participated in 14 conferences, traveling to cities such as Charlotte, Nashville, Jacksonville, and Birmingham. During these times, Layla remained at their home and took charge of the clinic's daily operations on her own. On March 14, 2017, while Dr. Everett was attending a departmental meeting from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m., Layla began organizing their basement. The basement, about 200 square feet in size, mainly contained academic papers and household items. Around 3:45 p.m., while going through a stack of journals from 2015 to 2016, she found a metal security box measuring 12 by 8 by 6 inches. The box was locked with a standard key lock, and using a spare set of keys kept in a kitchen drawer, Layla opened it around 4 p.m. Before we proceed further, let us know where you're tuning in from in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you, and don't forget to subscribe to stay updated on our upcoming videos. Inside the box, Layla found 23 manila envelopes, each labeled with initials and dates ranging from September 2015 to February 2017. The envelopes contained a total of 147 photographs, all of women aged 25 to 35, taken without their knowledge. The images featured women in various locations, such as university campuses, coffee shops, hotel lobbies, and parking lots. Each envelope included handwritten notes that outlined the women's daily routines, workplaces, home addresses, and travel routes. By cross-referencing these dates with Dr. Everett's conference schedule, Layla found that the timelines matched perfectly. Between 7:30 p.m. and 11:45 p.m. that evening, while Dr. Everett attended a faculty dinner, Layla conducted internet searches for missing women in the southeastern U.S. from 2016 to 2017, specifically focusing on disappearances connected to academic conferences. The results of these searches uncovered several missing persons cases that matched the locations and dates mentioned in the materials found in the security box. This discovery marked the first concrete evidence linking Dr. Everett's conference attendance to a series of unsolved disappearances in the southeastern U.S. It initiated an investigation that eventually involved multiple jurisdictions and uncovered a disturbing pattern of deliberate criminal behavior spanning nearly 2 decades. Upon further investigation, it became clear that each set of photographs had been accompanied by meticulously recorded timestamps, locations, and behavioral observations. The detailed nature of these records suggested that this was not random surveillance, but rather a carefully planned and systematic monitoring of potential victims. This methodical approach mirrored Dr. Everett's professional background in behavioral analysis, raising concerns that he had applied his academic expertise in disturbing ways. The regular faculty dinners that kept Dr. Everett away from home that evening provided Layla with crucial time to document her findings. She used her phone to photograph key contents of the box, ensuring that she preserved the organization of the materials to avoid detection. Following the discovery on March 14, 2017, Layla spent the next week carefully analyzing the connections between her husband's travel schedule and the reported disappearances. She created a detailed digital spreadsheet that cataloged the conference dates, locations, and corresponding missing persons cases across the southeastern U.S. The investigation uncovered a significant pattern involving Monica Lewis, 29, a teaching assistant at the University of North Carolina. Lewis had last been seen on September 23, 2016, during a psychology conference in Charlotte, North Carolina. Conference records confirmed Dr. Everett had been a panel speaker from September 21 to 23. Photographs of Lewis, found in the metal box, were dated September 20th, showing her walking across campus and entering a local coffee shop. Another case documented in the box was Dr. Tasha Freeman, 31, a research fellow in cognitive behavioral studies who disappeared in Nashville, Tennessee on February 8, 2017. Records indicated Dr. Everett had given a keynote speech at a behavioral science symposium in Nashville from February 6th to 8th. The box contained numerous surveillance photos of Freeman at the conference and her temporary accommodations. Between March 14th and 21st, Dr. Everett's behavior noticeably changed. He began to ask Layla about her daily activities with unusual frequency, particularly inquiring about her use of the computer and late-night work at the clinic. On March 18th, around 9:45 p.m., Layla noticed Dr. Everett observing her laptop usage through the reflection in the living room window, keeping watch for about 12 minutes. A significant breakthrough occurred on March 20th when Layla accessed a password-protected folder on their shared laptop. The folder contained detailed records of police investigations into the disappearances, including confidential witness statements and forensic reports. Dr. Everett had carefully annotated these documents, highlighting areas where he believed investigators had overlooked or made errors in procedure. The folder also contained communication about an upcoming psychology conference in Miami scheduled for April 15, 2017, where Dr. Everett was slated to present research on behavioral pattern recognition in academic settings. Concerned about the increasing risks, Layla installed commercial monitoring software on the shared laptop on March 21st. Between March 21st and 23rd, the software tracked Dr. Everett's internet activities, revealing extensive research into Dr. Camille Bryant, the conference's keynote speaker. Dr. Bryant, a prominent behavioral psychologist from Stanford University, specialized in predictive behavior patterns and cognitive analysis. Dr. Everett's digital surveillance showed he had thoroughly researched Dr. Bryant's academic schedule, travel habits, and personal life. His internet history showed multiple visits to Dr. Bryant's academic profile, social media pages, and speaking schedule. He had even accessed satellite images of the Miami conference venue and its surrounding areas, focusing on isolated routes and secondary exits. The evidence indicated that Dr. Bryant might be the next target, fitting the established pattern of victims. Female academics in the behavioral sciences, aged 25 to 35, attending professional conferences. A combination of surveillance photos, travel logs, and digital forensics showed a consistent method for selecting and monitoring victims before an incident. Additional data from the laptop revealed that Dr. Everett typically arrived at conference locations several days before the event's official start, giving him time for extensive surveillance of potential targets. His personal calendar showed a flight booking to Miami for April 12th, 3 days before the conference was set to begin. On March 24th, 2017, Layla Everett contacted Detective Malik Thompson of the Cobb County Police Department's Missing Persons Unit. The meeting took place at 9:30 a.m. in a discreet office to maintain confidentiality. Layla presented comprehensive evidence, including photographs from the security box, digital records, and her documented timeline of events. Detective Thompson, initially skeptical, changed his stance after reviewing the evidence. The photographs of Dr. Everett's systematic surveillance of women who later disappeared provided sufficient probable cause. On March 25th, Detective Thompson organized a specialized task force composed of investigators from multiple jurisdictions, including the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation, and the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. A financial investigation conducted by the task force revealed that Dr. Everett maintained 2 separate travel patterns for each conference. His primary reservations were made under his legal name at well-known hotels near conference venues, as evidenced by university reimbursement records. Secondary bookings, however, were made under the alias Damon Arnett at private residences and remote locations paid for using prepaid debit cards. Bank records also revealed consistent purchases during conference periods, including prepaid mobile phones, industrial cleaning supplies, and chemicals commonly used in laboratories. These transactions, made with cash at various stores across different jurisdictions, were carefully tracked. The task force identified 14 instances where prepaid phones were activated, corresponding with conference dates from 2016 to 2017. The investigation expanded further when Detective Thompson received information from retired officer Iris Collins of the Chapel Hill Police Department. Collins provided details about a missing person case from October 1999. The victim, Deanna Taylor, 22, was a graduate student in psychology at the University of North Carolina. University records from that period revealed crucial details about Dr. Everett's past. He had attended UNC Chapel Hill under the name Dorian Harris, and several witnesses recalled seeing Harris following Taylor in the weeks before her disappearance. Campus security logs showed that Harris was often seen in buildings and locations that Taylor frequently visited, despite not having any academic reason to be there. After Taylor's disappearance on October 12, 1999, Harris abruptly transferred to Duke University for the spring semester, changing his surname to Everett in March 2000, just before his transfer. The task force established a timeline connecting Dr. Everett's academic career with similar disappearances across several campuses between 2000 and 2016. 6 women had disappeared from university communities where Dr. Everett had studied or worked. Each case shared similar characteristics: academic settings, victims involved in psychological studies, and evidence of extended surveillance before the incidents. The investigation team uncovered a clear pattern in Dr. Everett's methodology, demonstrating how he used his academic career to facilitate these crimes. Dr. Dorian James Everett used his professional credentials to gain access to university environments without raising suspicion. His research on behavioral patterns served as a cover for observing potential targets, while his knowledge of investigative methods enabled him to exploit jurisdictional limitations and procedural flaws. By March 30, 2017, the task force had gathered enough evidence to secure warrants for surveillance on Dr. Everett's electronic communications, financial transactions, and physical movements. They initiated 24-hour surveillance of his activities, while continuing to investigate his historical ties to unsolved cases. Under Detective Thompson's guidance, the task force ramped up their surveillance operations on Dr. Everett. Covert monitoring devices were placed throughout the Kennesaw State University Psychology Department, and all electronic communications were closely monitored. This operation involved 24 agents working in rotating shifts to ensure constant observation. Technical surveillance revealed that Dr. Everett accessed a remote storage account containing extensive documentation about Dr. Camille Bryant. The files included her full conference itinerary, accommodation information at a Miami hotel, her favorite dining spots, and detailed maps of routes between conference venues. Dr. Everett had compiled photographs of Dr. Bryant from past academic events, along with notes detailing her daily routines and habits. On April 3, 2017, investigators executed a search warrant at Dr. Everett's university office during one of his lecture periods. They found a concealed laptop within a modified section of his desk. Forensic analysis of the laptop revealed an elaborate database containing information on 47 potential victims across 8 southeastern states. Each entry contained surveillance photos, daily schedules, and personal information. The database revealed a clear progression in Dr. Everett's methods, with early entries showing basic surveillance patterns, while later files demonstrated advanced tracking techniques and an awareness of counter-surveillance measures. Investigations into his alias, Damon Arnett, uncovered his attendance at 23 additional academic conferences that were not disclosed to his university, allowing him to conduct surveillance without oversight. Between April 4th and April 8th, Dr. Everett's behavior began to change significantly. He altered his daily commute by using different vehicles and making calls from public telephones. Surveillance teams documented him taking counter-surveillance measures, such as frequently changing directions while driving and entering buildings through emergency exits. Communications intercepted by the task force indicated that Dr. Everett had booked a flight to Miami for April 12th, 3 days before the scheduled conference. He made 2 separate accommodation bookings, one at the conference hotel and another at a private residence rental under his alias, located in a secluded area 20 miles from the venue. Financial tracking revealed purchases that were consistent with his previous behavior, including industrial cleaning supplies, prepaid mobile phones, and specific chemicals. However, the quantities purchased surpassed those in earlier cases, suggesting a further escalation in his methods. Dr. Everett's internet activity showed that he had conducted extensive research into surveillance camera locations around the Miami Conference Center and the nearby streets. He accessed building blueprints and emergency evacuation routes, focusing particularly on service corridors and restricted access points. The task force also documented him studying local law enforcement patrol patterns and response times. On April 9th, surveillance teams observed Dr. Everett conducting physical reconnaissance of local transportation hubs, photographing security camera positions, and documenting patrol schedules. He tested multiple exit routes from his university office and residence, timing each route under various traffic conditions. Given the increasing pattern of preparatory activities and Dr. Everett's heightened counter-surveillance awareness, Detective Thompson concluded that immediate intervention was essential. Allowing Dr. Everett to travel to Miami posed unacceptable risks, as his preparation suggested that he might destroy evidence. The task force initiated arrest operations on April 10, 2017, at 10:15 a.m. The coordinated operation involved 47 law enforcement officers from various agencies, with Detective Thompson leading the primary arrest team at Kennesaw State University. Concurrent teams executed search warrants at Dr. Everett's residence and 3 other properties linked to him through his alias. Dr. Everett was apprehended in his university office while accessing the concealed laptop documented during previous surveillance. The arrest team intercepted him mid-session to prevent any potential data deletion. He offered no resistance and maintained a calm demeanor throughout the procedure. The simultaneous search at Dr. Everett's residence recovered extensive evidence, including the metal box containing the surveillance photographs. It remained in its original location, and officers seized 23 manila envelopes, each containing 147 surveillance photos, handwritten notes, and location data. The search also uncovered multiple external hard drives, digital storage devices, and 3 additional laptops. A significant discovery was made in the attic, where investigators found a locked trunk containing journals dating back to 1999. Written by Dr. Everett, these journals documented his activities from his time at the University of North Carolina. The earliest entries were focused extensively on Deanna Taylor, detailing his surveillance techniques and psychological observations. The journals revealed Dr. Everett's development of his methodology, starting with Taylor's disappearance, which he referred to as his first experiment in behavioral prediction. Later entries chronicled the refinement of his techniques, victim selection criteria, and methods for exploiting routine behaviors. The journals demonstrated that Dr. Everett viewed his actions as academic research. He meticulously documented his victims' behaviors as if they were research subjects, observing their reactions to various stimuli and changes in their environment. He also analyzed law enforcement investigation patterns, noting weaknesses he could exploit. Investigators also discovered a hidden room in the basement behind a false wall, containing surveillance equipment such as high-resolution cameras, listening devices, and monitoring systems. Technical analysis revealed that the equipment was consistent with devices used in several of the disappearance cases. Digital forensics on Dr. Everett's devices uncovered encrypted files with detailed information on 9 previously unknown victims across 4 states. Each file contained extensive surveillance data, personal information, and post-incident analyses of law enforcement responses. The evidence collection continued through April 11th, requiring additional search warrants for multiple storage units rented under Dr. Everett's alias. These units contained physical evidence linking him to various disappearances, including personal items belonging to several victims and documentation of his movements during critical time periods. Dr. Everett remained in custody at the Cobb County Detention Center, where he maintained complete silence after invoking his right to legal counsel. Psychological evaluations noted his continued analytical approach, as he seemed to assess the detention center's procedures and staff behaviors with professional interest. The coordinated law enforcement operation concluded without any casualties and with the successful preservation of evidence. Authorities from Georgia, North Carolina, Tennessee, and Florida worked together to process crime scenes and evidence, establishing a joint task force to investigate cold cases potentially linked to Dr. Everett's activities. On October 2, 2017, the trial of Dr. Dorian Everett began in the Superior Court of Cobb County, attracting national media attention. Security measures were heightened due to the high-profile nature of the case. Over the course of 23 court days, the prosecution, led by District Attorney Marcus Reynolds, presented compelling evidence, including all 147 surveillance photographs, travel records, financial transactions, and digital forensics linking Dr. Everett to the disappearances. Layla Everett provided crucial testimony on October 9th, speaking for 7 hours about discovering the metal box and conducting her own investigation. She detailed Dr. Everett's behavioral changes, his systematic surveillance of potential victims, and the elaborate precautions he took to maintain his public persona while secretly conducting surveillance. The prosecution presented Dr. Everett's journals, which contained explicit details about 9 victims across 4 states. Forensics experts matched handwriting in the journals to Dr. Everett's academic papers and personal documents, establishing his authorship. The defense presented testimony from forensic psychiatrist Dr. Marcus Palmer, who argued that Dr. Everett had an undiagnosed psychological disorder stemming from childhood trauma. The defense tried to establish diminished capacity, suggesting that Dr. Everett's academic obsession with behavioral patterns indicated compulsive behavior. However, the prosecution countered with expert testimony from Dr. Sarah Morrison, the director of forensic psychiatry at a major medical center, who analyzed Dr. Everett's journals and methodologies. Dr. Morrison testified that his actions demonstrated clear premeditation, detailed planning, and sophisticated awareness of legal and investigative procedures. Former colleagues from several universities testified about Dr. Everett's professional conduct, noting that there were no signs of mental illness or impairment. They described him as methodical, intelligent, and highly aware of professional and social conventions. After deliberating for 27 hours, the jury returned guilty verdicts on all counts on November 3, 2017, including 9 counts of first-degree murder, multiple counts of kidnapping, and associated charges of evidence tampering and fraud related to his use of false identities. During sentencing, family members of the victims provided impact statements. The court heard testimony from 27 individuals, including the parents of Deanna Taylor, who had waited 18 years for justice. The judge imposed maximum consecutive sentences, ensuring that Dr. Everett would remain incarcerated for life without the possibility of parole. Following the trial, Layla Everett established an advocacy organization to support the families of victims and promote awareness of behavioral warning signs. Her efforts have helped law enforcement agencies develop new protocols for investigating potential serial offenders while maintaining professional careers. The case resulted in significant changes to academic conference security and university background check procedures. Multiple cold cases from 1999 to 2016 were reopened based on evidence uncovered during the investigation, leading to the resolution of previously unsolved disappearances across the southeastern U.S. Dr. Dorian Everett is currently serving his consecutive life sentences at Georgia State Prison in Reidsville, Georgia. He is housed in the maximum security wing, where he remains under constant surveillance. Due to the nature of his crimes and his sophisticated understanding of institutional procedures, his inmate status is classified as high risk, and he has restricted privileges. Prison records indicate that he maintains minimal contact with the outside world and continues to be the subject of ongoing behavioral studies by law enforcement agencies investigating similar unsolved cases.